Good evening, I'm Marty Olsen, and welcome to City Focus. And tonight I've got a very special guest, and you can tell here by the prop we've got, the Duane High School football helmet. My guest is Duane Maranda, who is the head football coach at Duane High School, and I'm delighted to have him on. I've been talking to Coach for, I don't know, about a month, 6 weeks to try to get you on the program, and he's just finished his first year on the job here in New London, and I'd just like to give a brief overview before we pan in on him here. But Coach Maranda graduated from East Lyme High School in 1991, where he played football as a linebacker, and he served as an assistant coach at East Lyme between 1996 and 2002. But prior to that, he went to UConn, where he served as an assistant volunteer coach. Any particular areas that you worked in at UConn? Or?
Just on the defensive side of the football, so I worked closely with a linebacker coach and a defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm. And he's also served as head coach at St. Bernard's from 03 to 05, Bacon Academy from 06 to Colchester, and then he's come down here to New London. He also serves in East Hartford as a firefighter. He's completing his master's this spring from Ohio University in athletic administration. He's been married 18 years to his wife Carrie, and they have 4 children. So it sounds to me like your plate is extraordinarily full, and I'm glad you've carved out just an hour of time to share with the audience here on City Focus. So welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the support you've shown us and me personally for the past 3-4 months.
Well, I'll tell you, I played ball at New London, and I really enjoyed playing as a kid, and I enjoy watching, and I have since the day I got out of high school. I mean, it's something that's important to me to follow the Whalers, and I think it's important for community support to show that people are watching and they care about what's going on, and the football team is a good way to, I think, do that. And one thing I want to mention, too, at the top of the program, if you don't mind, you have a program coming up this Sunday at the high school, awards banquet, as well as you're going to be inducting 3 new members to the New London High School Football Hall of Fame. Would you like to kind of give us an overview of what's going on? Is it open to the public? And if it is, how can people get connected to attend?
It is open to the public. It's our banquet. It's our fine end of the season banquet for this year, plus our Hall of Fame ceremony for this year. We have 3 people going into the Hall of Fame, as well as 12 seniors that are going to be moving on, graduating in 2013. So this year in the Hall of Fame, we got Gary Emanuel and David Hadley from the class of 1976, plus Marvin Key from the class of 1969. Jordan Reed, who is just competed in the NFL Combine. He's going to be on doing a live feed from Miami. He's going to give a little speech via Twitter or whatever, however they're going to do that, and that should be exciting too, and some of our kids are looking forward to that. So the public can go. The cost is only $10 for adults and $5 for students. Dinner is included in that. Jack Chaplin from Chaplin's on Bank Street, owner of that restaurant, he is donating all the food and cooking for us.
Well, that means you're getting a real good meal, because Chaplin's is top shelf.
Yeah, we do enjoy that. So we're real lucky to be able to do that. It's going to be a great day. It's from 2 to 6 o'clock. People can get tickets either by contacting me at the school, and then get them in the main office at the school. They can buy them Thursday night between the hours of 6 and 7 in the gym lobby.
Fantastic. And I'd just like to mention regarding the Hall of Fame inductees, Marvin Key was a senior when I was a freshman, and he was a big, tough guy on the defensive line. And I'm surprised it's taken this long for him to get his recognition, because he was quite a ball player in his day. And it's arguable, but the 1968 team, of which he was the senior on, may have been the best one high school team ever. That was a real juggernaut. And Bob Weiss was the coach, and I will just say in passing that I happened to see him this evening. Leo Ficini, Sr. passed away, and they're having calling hours, and I happened to see Coach Weiss there. Coach Weiss and the Ficinis lived on Lloyd Road in Waterford, and they were neighbors, so just by chance. But Coach Weiss really got the program in New London turned around in a very positive way, and then Coach Bunicor had an exceptionally long and successful run after that. And then the two gentlemen in '76, David Hadley, I've known him. His brother Michael was a classmate of mine, and we played ball together and served as tri-captains that senior year, as a matter of fact. So the linkages here are it's good stuff, and I'm looking forward to the program. I would like to just take a quick aside. Also on Sunday, I was contacted by Herb Eldridge from the New London Lodge of Elks just before coming on the air this evening. And also on Sunday is Firefighters Day at the Lodge, the BPO E360 on Washington Street. And at noontime, and they have a prime rib dinner. It's $20, and it's a casual affair. And it's an opportunity to come out and recognize the firefighters in the region. And New London will be recognizing Chief Ron Samuel, who's retiring this spring. And I think that's a very good idea by the Elks to recognize the chief in this fashion here at the end of his stellar career here in New London. When you sent me your bio, I was a bit surprised. I didn't realize you were such a local guy growing up in East Lyme. Can you tell me about growing up in the area and playing ball and your experiences in southeastern Connecticut?
Yeah, we were. I was born in Mystic, and then we moved to East Lyme when I was 4, and had a great upbringing there. East Lyme is a very good community, and enjoyed my time at the high school, and I played football and some baseball and basketball as well. So made some very close friends that I'm still friends and close with those people to this day. And I was lucky enough to go back there and start coaching at my alma mater under Andy Ducis when he was coaching, and he was really a mentor to me, and he really kind of showed me how to connect with kids and how to coach the right way. And that meant a lot to me, and that he's really been a big part of making me the man I am right now. So that was always a terrific experience. But also being in the area, just playing against New London teams. My father and his family were from New London. My grandmother lived on Maple Avenue, so we used to come over here and hang out and down near the tracks down there and play, and then she later on moved to the Mohegan. And so I always really respected New London, the traditions behind it, and just hearing some of the stories that my parents would tell me, and then obviously playing against them later on. It was just, it's the dream job. It really is. I mean, there's so many expectations at New London High School, in regards to football and athletics, and some people look at those as it could be a negative thing, pressure, but I like the expectations. I do. I love it that they're high. I love that there's a lot of pressure, that athletics plays such an important role at the high school in helping make the young men and women who they are.
Well, that said, a key component and the primary reason why the kids are in school is to learn. And of course, and I firmly believe this with football, the experiences participating in the team have extraordinary life benefits, dealing with authority and teamwork and things of this nature that stay with you forever, which you can get in other sports, but I think football is a little bit different than baseball or basketball or the swim team or track team, as far as the fellowship and camaraderie that develops with football. Now, you've also coached at St. Bernard's and Bacon, so you've basically been a head coach. Yeah. You did some assistant work as a volunteer at UConn. Now you tell us about your UConn experience. I'm trying to get a handle on how you got to where you are today. So we're going from East Lyme, and you go up to UConn, and
it was actually I was up at UConn the same time I was the head coach of St. Bernard's. So it was a lot of traveling, and I live in Colchester now, so I would go from Colchester to UConn for full-time day school, as a traditional student. And then I'd get out of class and practice there, and I'd drive down to St. Bernard's and then back to Colchester. So it was quite the loop every day. But
you must be young.
It was important to me, and nice to have a great wife too.
Yes.
Yeah, but it was really important to me. I did not get the chance to really compete at that level. So it was important to me, definitely being a head football coach, as somebody who has to guide people on how to play at that level, and to hopefully work to maybe get a scholarship or move on to definitely to a school, that to get that experience. And UConn came out with a program under their kinesiology department for coaching and administration. So I quickly met Coach Maroney, who was a legend up there as a soccer coach.
Yep, they got the stadium named after the soccer.
They do. Yeah, Joe Maroney, terrific young man, terrific guy. And he accepted me. I was in the first program for that department there, and it was a great experience. I was able to be a volunteer coach with UConn staff under Randy Edsel for 2.5 years, and I got to experience the recruiting side of it, the coaching side of it, all the little idiosyncrasies that go along with coaching at that level and playing at that level. I got to experience, and that was such an experience, because now I feel like I can I give a little bit more feedback to the high school athletes now who hopefully aspire to be there.
Now, give me a window into from UConn to St. Bernard's. Is this something that there was an opening and you applied for? Did they recruit you? How did that work?
St. Bernard's opened up, and I was still an assistant coach at East Lyme. And so I applied there. Andy Ducis knew I always wanted to be a head coach, and he was great, like I said, in helping me get to that point. We two-platooned, it's a football term where basically there's a set offense and defense personnel. We did that at East Lyme, and he knew that what would be a great experience for me, he gave me the defensive side of the ball. And I was in charge of dealing with the parents and the grades and everything. So it was almost like he gave me head coaching experience without being head coach. So he prepared me for that, and St. Bernard's job opened up, and I applied for it. Got the job. First year there was tough. I mean, they had not won in a very long time, and you're coming into a program that won 13% of their games over the past 10 years, and it took a lot to turn it around. But I had a great staff and a great group of kids. Right at the right time, and
Were they networked with the Norwich Tech at that time as well, or was it just St. Bernard's?
It had just begun. It had just begun with Norwich Tech. It was 2 or 3 years into it. So we got into Norwich Tech, and we'd set some recruiting tables up, and those guys would come. We ended up getting a good amount of kids from Norwich Tech, and by year 3 we ended up going 7-3, and that was a big turnaround. And it was a great experience for me as a young coach to learn from, and what I did wrong and what I did right and what I need to improve on. From there, I actually left St. Bernard's right when I was graduating UConn. I got hired at Trinity College as the outside linebacker coach. I had always aspired to be a college football coach, and that was in like April of 2006. So when I was working my first camp as a Trinity coach, in the summer of that year, in July, the Bacon Academy principal called me because their head coach had resigned, and I live in Colchester. He knew I lived in Colchester, so he called and wanted to get me in for an interview if I would take it, because he knew being in the hometown it might be something I wanted to do. So I went in just to see what they had to say, and it was a very tough decision because I'd worked so hard to that point to get to the collegiate level, and to finally have gotten there, and then I got thrown another opportunity. And when I looked at it, my daughter was going to be a freshman at the high school. My son was going to be coming up to play there. It was just something I could not say no to. And I was told a long time ago that if you make a decision because of your family, it's never the wrong decision. And I just that's
staying hometown was
staying hometown. I resigned from Trinity, and which was really hard. And I started at Bacon Academy for 6 years, which was a great experience as well.
And the allure of coming to New London, because it appears to me you had a pretty good thing going up at Bacon to pick up and have an extra half an hour commute down here to the shoreline to come down to New London. I mean, why would you do that?
Well, New London High School, especially the football program, is one of the premier programs in the state, and really, I think, in the tri-state area. I mean, New London High School has got a rich history of athletics, of football, and the alumni base, the way the community is so passionate about football and the program, the way the kids are really ingrained in that from a very young age, and they love playing in the green and gold, and they love being a Whaler, and they aspire to be that. And it's something that is very hard to come by, especially in Connecticut. I think down south you may get that a little bit more, but up here it's tough to come by those opportunities. So when it came up and I was given the opportunity, I had to jump at it.
Well, we're delighted that you're here, and you had a good first season. You finished with 7-3, I believe.
Yes.
Which is it's good. I mean, obviously there's room for on-field improvement, but 7-3 is nothing to sneeze at. It's a good opening season. You had I thought you had a real smart squad. They were fun to watch.
Yeah.
You've touched on a variety of things that I've got in my notes here. I'd like to mention too, ladies and gentlemen, that we are live tonight. Again, I'm Marty Olsen, and I'm the host of City Focus. And I'm with Duane Maranda, who's the head football coach at New London High School. And if you'd like to call in with a question or a comment or a thought, please do at 860-440-3154, or you can contact us at 800-253-2285. And how do you mix the academic and with the football? I mean, you mentioned you've got a dozen kids that are graduating this year. Mm-hmm. Are these kids going to work? Are they going into the military? How many of them are going to college? Are there any anyone playing football after this, or maybe basketball, or in general, just because you've had a number of years' experience now, so you've had graduating kids not just at New London, but at all the schools you've been at. And how do you get these kids honed in on the important part of the academics and preparing themselves for life?
Well, yeah, we are lucky enough. We definitely stress that, and at New London High School, they actually went above and beyond that this year. And we used to just have to meet the CIAC regulations as far as academic eligibility, but that has been upped now. So really, we have to be on top of it, and even more so than we were before. And what I tell the kids when they come in as a freshman, or even just this year, telling all 4 classes, because this is my first year with those guys, is that it's all about creating options for yourself. And when you come in as a freshman, you have every option available to you. Anything you want to do, you can do. As you progress through high school, depending upon how you do academically and athletically, those options may be either maintain that number or get smaller. And the kids that come into the high school and they do what they have to do academically, and they combine that with their athletic ability, when it gets to be their senior year, they have a tremendous amount of options that they could pick from, whether it's to go to maybe one of 6 or 7 different schools, to go out and work, to go into the military, whatever it is they would like to do. If you don't do that, then you're going to limit your options, and you're not going to have those choices. This year we got a pretty good class that's graduating. It's highlighted by Caleb Camacho, who is he was an all-state wide receiver and safety for us. Terrific young man, has overcome so much in his life. GPA-wise, he's in the top 10% of his class, and he just signed a letter of intent to Sacred Heart University and a full scholarship.
Oh, wow.
So that's for a kid to be able to play Division I AA ball and to be able to go to a great school like that for nothing is a tremendous accomplishment. We also are pretty close to being able to send a few more kids to some Division II schools and some Division III schools, and we've got some other kids that are on, we're trying to get into some prep schools right now that just need a little bit more time.
Well, that sounds like all good stuff, and I think to a large degree that helps to refute the, I think, a stereotype that the athletes and football players are carrying their weight and they're leaving school unprepared, and you're painting a picture where the kids are getting good guidance and a good foundation so that when they do graduate, that they're being prepared for the next step, so that they're not going to trip coming out of high school, but have an opportunity to succeed. And
that's the key. What I look at, and I just had this conversation with a teacher in the high school today. To me, I don't think success is based on how many kids you get into college. It's looked at 3 or 4 years down the road, how many kids actually finish at that college. So that's what is important, is that not only just to get kids into college, but get them into the right college. So that way when they go there, whether they're playing football or not, they finish that and they get their degree.
Mm-hmm. We got a call. Let's go to the phones. Good evening, and you're on the air.
Hi, Marty. I tuned in a little late when you guys were talking about the banquet at the high school.
Yes.
I got the price, but I didn't get what day it was. Can you give me, and let me know when that is?
Well, the banquet for the football is this Sunday. It's March 3rd at the New London High School in the cafeteria.
Okay.
And it starts at 2 o'clock, and it's scheduled to run from 2 to 6.
Okay.
And that includes the banquet for the players as well as induction of 3 members into the New London High School Football Hall of Fame.
All right. Can you get tickets at the door? Or do you
Coach,
have
you
to
can
get
them
them
at the door?
Yes, you can get them at the door, and if you could, you can get them in the main office as well at the high school. You can give me a call, and I could try to arrange something else. But yes, you can get them at the door.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and the event is being catered by chaplains downtown, so you're going to get a top-flight meal.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing one of your players that I had in kindergarten, Caleb, as a matter of fact. I had him back in kindergarten, so I followed him all through school, so I'm hoping to get there and wish him a lot of luck, along with everybody else.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for the call.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Yep. Okay, well, looks like you're going to get at least one from out in the community.
Great. She did a good job with him in kindergarten, whatever she did. Caleb is a phenomenal young man. He really is. I can't say enough good things about him.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about with the proliferation, actually it's not quite there yet, but the growth of magnet schools. We have a magnet school in New London, the Science and Tech. You've got we've also got trade schools, Norwich Tech and Grasso Tech. We've got the agricultural school over at Ledyard. And this seems to be kind of the wave of the future, and it's kind of blurring community lines. How does that work or impact what you're doing, if at all?
Well, I can just speak for our program and our school and maybe our science school is that the Science Technology School at New London is a phenomenal school. My son goes there, and my son transferred in, and he loves it. What they offer there for science and technology engineering, it's something that I don't know if anybody else offers it in the area. They really do a phenomenal job with the facilities they have, the brand new building, how the teachers, they seem like all the teachers just work together and they love doing what they do over there. And I can see that, my son can see that, and it helps us football program wise, just our kids are getting experience and other things outside of what just a normal public high school would offer. And to be able to combine what the science school offers to, the New London High School, the core classes that the kids take there, plus the social aspect and the athletic aspect of it, it's a win-win for our
and
kids.
If I'm not mistaken, with the magnet school, the students there get a New London High School diploma when they graduate, and they are participating in all of the New London High extracurricular activities. So whether it be football, the chess club, key club, whatever it may be, different sports. It's an integrated thing between the two schools. Is that correct?
It is correct. Yeah, all the students at the Science Tech School can do all the activities at New London High School.
Okay. Yeah. Now, you mentioned before we got on the air, and I really wasn't aware of this, but you're in the school full time. What is your position there? What do you do? What's the what is your component in the building during business hours, so to speak, beyond football coach?
Well, I supervise the alternative discipline program, so it's the young men and women that have to go into a separate program, maybe for a day or for a few days, and just to maybe need a little break from a classroom or just need a little extra work or some counseling. And
is that in lieu of detentions or suspension?
It's along those lines. It's along those lines. So I really love the job there. I do. It's the class sizes that I get. I might have one kid. I might have maybe 10, 12 kids, but you really get to work one-on-one. And I collect the curriculum that the teachers were going to teach the kids that day, and I get to work with the kids and helping them complete that. So it's pretty rewarding.
That's good. I'm tickled that you're. I think that's some kind of important that and people to understand that in the community that you are in the building. It's not as if you're disjointed coming in from Colchester and you come in for practice for football season, and we don't see you the rest of the year. You're here regularly, and you're interacting with the kids. They see you, and you've got a presence in the building.
And that was important to me. I wouldn't have, thought about accepting the position if I could not have a position in the building. Football coach, especially at New London High School, it could be a full-time job. And what we do, there is no downtime at all. I mean, I could spend 6-7 hours a day right now on the phone with recruiters of people calling for our seniors, juniors, and sophomores. And then, we're in the weight room every day. Today we had 40 kids in our weight room total. I mean, it's a great time of the year. I enjoy it. I enjoy this. I enjoy the grind and everything that gets put into it. So it was very important for me to be in the building.
Super. We get another call. Let's go to the phones. Good evening, and you're on the air.
Yes, good evening. First of all, I'm really excited with the fact that you stated that was one step to get the kids into college, but you know that the most important thing is get them to continue to complete college. What do you see that as a community here in London that we can do to make sure that our kids that are going to college stay in college?
Well, I think that really starts at home and just making sure, your kids are doing the small things, like I said, about doing their homework every night, listening to their teachers, because all those little things help you become a better student. And if at the end of those 4 years, if kids can, be entering their senior year in good academic standing, then they're going to have so many different options. And with the more options you have, the more choices to be able to get the school that fits you. So I think what I try to tell our kids is that it starts way before you're a junior and you're a senior. It starts when you're a freshman entering high school. And a lot of kids don't realize that, and they realize that late, and that's where you get jammed up a little bit. But for us as a community, just to make sure that we stay connected with these kids and emphasize the academic side of things and what they're doing at home, so that way when they get to be a senior, they have choices and they can choose the right college for them, not the one they're just stuck to going to.
Yeah, I think too it's important for the community to be involved with the school. This year I got involved and have been involved tutoring. And I think it's important for these kids to see people from the community in the school. People care, and they're paying attention to what they're doing and want to see them succeed. Sometimes I don't know if they want to show it to you when you're there, but I have a feeling that they know that there are adults that are genuinely concerned with how they're doing and not just on the ball field.
You're right, and that is something the community could do as well, just what you did this year for us, and coming in and helping out in our academic support study hall for our athletes. We had some students from Conn College that came down and helped out, some students from Mitchell, some adults that came in, and we were able to, at some points, break down, one-on-one with kids that needed tutors, and that helped us out a tremendous amount as well. And just being involved in the team and letting the kids know that you care about them. These kids are motivated to do well in academics when they feel good athletically. In my program that I'm in now at Ohio University, I just got done, doing a research paper on what athletics can do for students, and I couldn't believe they did a study in Kansas where over 70,000 high school kids were studied, and the dropout rate was 14 times higher in non-athletes than it was athletes. So when a kid is involved in athletics and they feel good about that and they get the community support, it motivates them to do well in school, to stay involved and stay, doing the right thing academically and graduate and hopefully go to the college they want to.
Yeah. I mean, I know when I was a kid that I found that when I was involved with sports, that my time was so structured that I did better in school because of that structure. I mean, you have school, and we didn't have the after-school tutoring sessions. After school, we'd go right to practice, and then after practice, go home, have dinner, and then you'd do your homework. But that was it 5 days a week, and you had a very small window to get your work done. And if you didn't get it done, you'd fall behind. And we had rules, which I'm sure you do, regarding attendance and making practice or missing practice and participating in games. So if the kids are not coming to school, but they're not going to play, or maybe they don't dress. I'll let you speak to how you're handling that kind of stuff now. But I know that those were kind of things that we had to deal with once upon a time.
You know, I think that's something that football teaches that I don't know if a lot of other sports do, and I played other sports, is that when you're part of a football team, you're part of something bigger than just yourself. And it teaches you that commitment to everybody else that's on your team or it's in your family. We use that word a lot. And to be able, you know, you might wake up in the morning and not feel like going to school, but if you know that if you don't go to school, you're not going to be able to play and practice that day, which means you're not going to play in the game that week, you know, other people rely on you. And if that's what it takes to get you out of bed and to get you to school, then that's the motivation that's necessary. So I think football teaches young men that work ethic, that commitment, that part of being part of something bigger than yourself that, you know, as adults we get when we grow up and have a family, that we know that we have to get out of bed and go to work just to be able to support our family, even on days that we don't want to. And football teaches that to young men.
And occasionally you might have to actually work for somebody who annoys you, that you might not get along with. You may have co-workers or like teammates that you're not always the best buddies to everybody that you're crossing paths with, but you got to put together your differences, pull together as a team to accomplish your collective goal.
Right.
So I think that's one of the great lessons that football teaches, and to me it's good stuff. Now, is high school football getting tied? I don't know how to phrase this. Is it being influenced by some of the issues that are being discussed and dealt with at the NFL level, where it's getting a lot of publicity regarding concussions and head injuries and things of that nature? What is being done or has been done or is on the table for discussion? Can you talk about any of that, or are you guys just kind of operating the way you've always operated?
It's much different. It's much different than it was 5 years ago, and vastly different from when I started 18, 20 years ago. I mean, it's come a long way, and it's a good thing. They're finding out a lot about concussions and head injuries, and they're also dispelling a lot of myths. You know, that football kind of gets a bum rap sometimes of being the sport that all the concussions come out of, and it's not true. It's you know, there's a lot of positive benefits from football that go above and beyond of concussions. And is there a risk? Absolutely. There's a risk with any sport for injuries. But football is doing a great job in educating the coaches, the parents, the athletes on the risk and then also how to avoid those risks. I mean, just the helmets alone. I mean, this helmet that we have here is 30 years old, and to compare that to what these kids are using now, it's unbelievable. I mean, I remember, you know, you and I put helmets on and they were uncomfortable and barely fit, and you know, and sometimes you'd get hit and water would pour out of them or the air would leak out. And the helmets now that these kids are putting on, they're extremely comfortable. They fit very well. They're individually fit for every kid.
I just wanted to dispel the myth for those who are watching. I mean, I'm not so old that I wore a leather helmet, but my father did at Rutgers and at the old Chapman Tech. I'm sorry I interrupted, but it was a good time to interject that.
But you know, every coach now for the state of Connecticut has to go through a class every single year on concussions. We got to recertify every year to make sure we know the risk, and the most important thing is how to gauge when a child or an athlete can come back to play, can return to play. And you know, and the risk with those head injuries is not necessarily so much from the initial impact. It's that if that brain has not healed, and then you try to get that athlete back on the field too soon, and he re-injures it. So we've really, you know, the CIEC, the Connecticut High School Coaches Association, has done a great job in educating coaches, parents, teachers, athletes on the return to play protocol that has to be followed. You know, there's a trainer. We have a trainer and a chiropractor who volunteers their time, you know, on our sidelines every single game to be able to look over our kids, as you know, even more so than the coaches do, because you know, a lot of times in a game, you know, we're coaching the game and we have to worry about everything, and for it to have a trainer there that can actually take an athlete from the field and actually diagnose what exactly is wrong with him so we don't miss anything. And the trainer will come over to me and say, you know, Jimmy is ready to go back in or Jimmy can't. So I value that opinion, and that takes you know, a lot off of our shoulders as coaches.
Now in that same vein, share with us practice. Now, and I'm going to throw back to when I played, which was a long time ago. I mean, we hit a lot. We scrimmaged regularly. We were driving as a lineman, sleds around the field. And is that the typical type of practice today, or is it less hitting? Is there less contact? And is it safe for Saturday or Friday night, should I say? Kind of give us. I mean, I haven't seen those sleds that you know, the 7-man sled. I don't know if you have one up there. Help me out here. Talk to me about a practice that for the line and the backs and pulling it together and getting prepared for contact.
We do have those sleds, and we might have the same sled that you had, but we still have it. We still utilize it. It's still a great piece of equipment, and there is a lot less contact in high school football in practice-wise during the week than it would be when I played, and I'm sure when you played. There's a lot more focus on maybe technique and things that we can do just you know, aside from just lining up and hitting one another and seeing how tough everybody is. That's just not the way it's done anymore. It's really trickled down from the college level, where if you go to, you know, high school practice now, it really resembles a college practice where, you know, they really watch after how much contact those kids have and making sure they're not beating up on each other too much on Tuesday, Wednesday, to take away what they can do on Friday night. So, you know, our coaches do a phenomenal job. I was very lucky when I came on at New London to be able to retain almost all the coaches from the prior staff, and you know, coaches like Juan Roman and Tommy Major and Kent Reyes and Mike Morgan, Mo Lloyd. I mean, these guys have so much experience and have so much vested in the city of New London that you know, to have them on, they do a great job. You know, we break up practices. You know, we'll start small and then we'll start to piece together, you know, the pieces to be able to get the job done for Friday night. So.
Well, you mentioned a couple of guys that I played with. Tommy I played with, he was a year ahead of me, and Kent was a year behind me. And it's kind of, I think, amazing that with Kent in particular, he was a quarterback and I played guard. He's twice my size, and it just, well, we did the best we could to keep him on his feet. And but we had a lot of fun. And I think that's important too, and I think that speaks well of New London, that we have these local guys who continue to give back to the community through coaching and the football and other areas as well. But you know, Juan is well, he's a little younger than I am. And matter of fact, Juan was the guy who I forgot to bring my prop out here earlier. Was the guy who designed these hats here. Occasionally, you'll see folks wandering around town or at football games with these X hats on, and I always get asked, "What's the X for?" And it's because I'm a New London High football player. And you can't buy these. You have to earn them. You got to be a player to get one of these hats. And on the back, it has our class on there, and I'm the class of '72, so you can do the math. We just celebrated our 40th reunion this past summer at Tony D's downtown. Your practices, to me, it's I'm intrigued by all this because, and you mentioned the weight room earlier, and here we are, and it's February, and in years going by at the end of football season, which was either Thanksgiving or perhaps into the state tournament, at the end of the season, it was over. There was no, either you went on to basketball or some other sport, or you didn't play a sport. There was no weights. Football would start a week before school with double sessions on the late August, and usually it would be the hottest week of the summer, or at least it seemed that way. Kind of explain how this works and the rules and regs so that you comply, but the kids can still get their workouts. I mean, things are different. And I think that's important, at least for me to understand, if not our audience.
You know, the bar's been raised, you know, definitely over the past 20 years about what the way programs are run now. And I say the word program, and to me that's the difference. I mean, there's a difference between a program and a team. A team maybe just meets for the season, that's it, and it says goodbye until the next, you know, opening day. But I think a program does more than that. That's why we consider ourselves a, you know, a year-round program where, you know, we offer our kids the opportunity to get better in the off season. And then to stay in touch with them academically and recruiting-wise to get the kids into college and all of those things, helping a kid get a job, whatever it is. And, you know, it has to be done. You know, years ago, many years before I started becoming a head coach, guys started getting in the weight room more you know, on a pattern in the off season. And it's to the point now where if you're not doing that as a high school football team, you're not going to be able to compete, and it's going to be very rare that you can. So, you know, what we tell our kids is that, you know, we want our kids to go out and do other sports. We want our kids to play basketball or to run indoor track or play outdoor track or baseball, whatever it is. It gets them away from us as coaches, you know, kind of clears their head a little bit, and it also continues to get them.
I was going to ask that question, but you've answered it in terms of whether they're just one sport players these days, but you're encouraging them to participate in others, and at that young age, I think that's good.
It is, and I would never want to take that away from a young man. I mean, if they get to their junior year and they start to become a really, really highly recruited young man, and maybe they're getting a lot of attention where the decision, you know, they're going to have to make is going to mean thousands and thousands of dollars for them and their family. I think then that's the time where they can start to visit whether they want to specialize in something. But definitely as a freshman, as a sophomore, kids should do as much as possible and to get out there to see what they like, to experience that. And what we tell kids is if you're not doing a sport, we expect you to in our weight room. You know, if you're not doing something to get you better as far as another sport, we expect you to be in our weight room and to get better that way. It's so much, you know, can happen in there. I mean, today we had 40 kids in our weight room over the course of, you know, we have 3 different sessions. Our kids.
Are those just football players or are those athletes?
Just football players, yeah. So, but we have 3 different sessions. Our kids can either come in at 6 a.m., they can come in at 2:15 in the afternoon, or they can come in at 3:15, depending upon what's available to them, whether they're doing something else at clubs to get extra help, whatever it may be. And you know, we try to make those available to them so everybody's got a time that they can come in. And kids can learn so much about themselves in the weight room. It really parallels kind of the football field, and having to set goals, having to you know, put a lot of work in and instill that work ethic in young men, and not just a one-day thing. I mean, you can't just go in a weight room one day a week and reach your goals. You got to make a commitment. You got to be there every single day and to be able to work towards something. So it's very, very important to us. And then obviously, you know, our goal is when we start the year. This year it's going to be on August 19th, and we start the year on August 19th. We want to make sure that, you know, we are the best possible football team at that moment. Mm-hmm. Football is a lot different than other sports, and you know, in basketball and baseball, lacrosse, soccer, you only have to win 40% of your games to play in the playoffs. In football, you got to be ready at game 1, and you know, you can't risk not being the best possible team you can be early in the season, because if you drop a couple games early in the year, that might be your chance, you know, at a playoff shot.
You can't take a week off. Yeah.
You can't. So, I mean, you have to win 90, 80% of your games. There's some teams in years past that have won 100% of their games and not gotten into playoffs. Fortunately, the CIAC noticed that, and they've expanded the playoff system a little bit, so hopefully that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah. How would you measure the facilities that we have here at New London in general, in comparison to where you've worked before, and as well as the ECC and places that you've had an opportunity to visit around Eastern Connecticut and perhaps throughout Connecticut, for that matter?
I think when you're looking at interscholastically, I mean, it's second to none. It really is. It's something that, you know, when they built it, and I was a coach coaching against New London, it's something you look at and you dream of having at your own school. And then being the head coach here now, you know, I got to pinch myself sometimes when you walk out and you can choose from that turf field or that turf field to practice on if there's nobody on it. And it's a gorgeous setup. City of New London did a tremendous job in building the fields, lighting them both. I mean, it's just in the fall, it's a great field because, you know, we're practicing on it Our freshman football team is practicing on it. And then as soon as we're getting done, all the youth football kids and those young guys, they're lining up on the fence and they're getting ready to come on the field. It's a great feel for the city of New London to have the high school team there, to have the youth teams there, the youth coaches there. It adds to the excitement. It adds to that tradition, and it's everything what I thought New London was. So, I'm lucky enough to sit in a couple of meetings recently on what they're doing with the field house and the bleachers, and all the.
That's the last piece that needs of the puzzle that's got to get tended to.
Yeah, and I can tell you, everybody's excited about seeing that happen. We're hoping that field house gets built, and we're able to utilize it this year, and hopefully make something special of it. I was talking with actually Jim Bunicore Sr., and obviously he's got a great tradition with London High School, and he's got a lot of stuff that he's collected over the years. And one of the things we talked about is somehow maybe making some kind of display in the new field house where we can put some of that old memorabilia, some of that old pictures up that on game nights, we can open up maybe to the public that could walk through and see that, sort of like a museum. So there's a lot of ideas out there that we've got in the works, and we're excited about the field house, the bleachers, the press box, those things, finishing that project off.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Coach Bunicore. I mean, when he came in, I was a sophomore, and I played on his first team. And I'll tell you something, he was extraordinarily good to me, and an awful lot of young men have passed through the program under his tutelage, as well as Gil Vargas and Joe McNeil and others who have coached. And the impact that the coaches have on the young men is, you really can't put a price on it. The value of the coaches is significant to a young man growing up, and how they address life. And I think more often than not, the guys who've played football in New London, and I suspect other places as well, do okay. I mean, they don't slip through the cracks. I mean, you get one or two, but it tends to be a good experience, especially for those who follow through and stick with the program and don't quit. Mm-hmm. I think that's an important consideration as well. Folks, we're running toward the last handful of minutes, but we are live and we are taking calls. If you'd like to squeeze in a comment or a question, please give us a buzz. We can be reached at 860-440-3154 or 800-253-2285. I'm Marty Olsen. I'm with Duane Maranda, who's the head football coach at New London High School. And we've been having, I think, a wonderful conversation here about high school athletics and football in particular, and its role in education. And would like to get your input as well. Coach Maranda has just concluded his first year here at New London, and it seems to me he's got his group well positioned and prepared entering year number 2, so we won't have a sophomore jinx.
No, it's an exciting time for our team. It is. I mean, our junior class that we got coming up to be seniors next year, it's got some very good leaders in it, and we've got some gifted athletes. Our sophomore class that's coming up through has got a tremendous amount of athletes in it, and a lot of those guys played this year. Our freshmen, we had 2 freshmen start our Thanksgiving Day game versus NFA. And they've got a great spirit and competitiveness about them. So we're excited to get a couple of those guys up and the whole group involved at the JV level, the varsity level. And then even to add to that excitement is the 8th grade team, the senior team that had an undefeated season that I was lucky enough to go down and watch, some of their games and watch them win their championship. And those guys are lights out. I mean, they're unbelievable. Some of the guys that they got on that field. I had a college coach in the other day, and we were watching some highlight films. And there's a highlight film for the senior youth team on YouTube. So I threw that on and showed him that. And his comment was, "If you never told me that was a youth football team, I would think it was a high school football team." I mean, they're some unbelievable players that are coming up through. So it's a very exciting time in New London. I think there's going to be some great football played. Just like there always has been, over the next couple of years.
How much input do you have in regards to scheduling? I know that Coach Parker with the basketball team, he, outside of the conference, seems to try to schedule some challenging foes to get the team prepared, not for conference play, and I don't want to minimize the conference, but almost more for tournament play. Do you have that kind of flexibility, or is the conference tie up the bulk of your schedule?
We don't have as much flexibility as other sports. We get most of our games from the conference. However, we don't get them all. So next year is an 11-game schedule.
Oh, wow.
And the year after that,
Season.
it is 11-game regular season. Every 4 or 5 years you get those. It's actually like that for the next 2. So we had 2 spots open that we had to fill, which wasn't easy. And there wasn't a lot of schools, answering our phone calls to play. But I also, I've always felt like you need to play tough teams if you want to be a great team. If you want to be a great team, you got to play great teams. And what we were lucky enough, we went out and we've solidified a agreement with Middletown High School, who's they're a phenomenal football program. They went 9-1 last year, went to the playoffs. They lost to Xavier in the regular season, and then so we're playing them next year and the year after, doing a home and away.
Oh, okay, good.
And then we're also playing Capital Prep, which was undefeated last year, and they've got some phenomenal athletes there as well. So the 2 teams we picked up, were a total of 19-1 last year. So
that sounds like a good challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. So our kids are amped up about that, and there's going to be some tremendous amount of challenges, next year in the schedule. But the first game is the most important, like I said earlier. So.
Well, folks, we're running down to the end of the program tonight, and I just want to do a couple of quick promos, if I could. One is actually for 2 events that are taking place this Sunday. The first one is at the New London Lodge of Elks. The BPO 360 is Firefighters Day, and Chief Ron Samuel will be New London's honoree. It's an opportunity to get out. It's open to the public, and so to come on down to the Elks Lodge at 81 Washington Street. It's a casual affair, prime rib dinner, and it's $20. So it's, I think, merits some attendance, and when you're through there, you can scoot over to the high school, and there'll be the New London High School football banquet, which is scheduled for 2 o'clock in the cafeteria, and the team will be having its banquet, and there'll be 3 alums being inducted into the New London High School Football Hall of Fame. Marvin Key, class of '69, and 2 members of the class of '76, David Hadley and Gary Emanuel. The function is $10 for adults, $5 for kids. Is that correct?
Yes.
And Chaplains is catering the affair, so you're going to be getting a real good meal. So 2 good things going on right here in town this coming Sunday afternoon. Coach, we got a call coming in here.
No, that's not for you.
No, it's not for us. Okay, we got 2 calls coming in, but they're not for us. You have any parting shots you'd like to offer here in our remaining moments? I want to thank you for taking the time to come on, and I've enjoyed having you, and I'm looking forward to having you on.
Line 2 is for you.
Line 2 is for us. Well, let's go to the phones. Good evening, and you're on the air.
Yes, before you close, great show, and I just wanted to be the first to say happy birthday to you, Ms. Oaks.
Thank you very much.
All right, you guys have a great evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being so thoughtful.
Happy birthday. I didn't even know.
They come around once a year.
Yeah.
In any event, welcome aboard to New London, and we are looking forward to success and working with you as a community. I'm a firm believer that broad-based community success is good in all facets, and I would encourage folks when you come out this fall to come out and support the Whalers up at Canamella Field at the school. It's a good entertainment, and it's a good way to show your community spirit and get behind the green and gold. And Coach Maranda, I want to thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the support.
You bet. Good night, folks.